This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
you.
No, you couldn't. Will, thank you. You couldn't hear me? All right, so I got to do it. I got to say it again. I held up the prop. Thank you, Will, for texting and saying you couldn't hear me. Your president yesterday, the president of the United States of America yesterday, suggested that you can kill the virus by ingesting bleach. And I'm telling you, here's a public service announcement from the Eric Dawson radio show. Do not drink bleach. It will kill you. Repeat, do not drink bleach. It will kill you. So if you never shared this show before, please share it. And the reason I say share it is because somebody's gonna drink the bleach. And the reason I say that is, Vincent and Diane, you saw the challenges that they had on social media, right? Eating cinnamon or nutmeg or whatever it was, and jumping out of cars while they were running, and all kinds of things, right? So I am deeply concerned that when the President of the United States talks about shooting, and don't go, I can't even imagine how people are going to try to shoot light inside their bodies, but don't do that either. Don't do any of it. Just listen, just put a mask on. Just put gloves on. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Stay 6 feet away from people, right? And don't go out unless you have to. Those things are working. I posted statistics yesterday from New York, and they've done some testing in 3 states, I think they are, for antibodies. And in New York, they found that they did a sampling of about 3,000 people in 19 different counties in New York. And they found that just over 13% had the coronavirus in their blood, right? So the idea is that they believe now, based on that 13 point whatever percent, that more than 2.7 million people had the coronavirus. So for all of the people who were saying, oh, this is like the flu, right? So you can cancel them out now, because with those numbers, this means this is at the very least, and they're still testing more, but at the very least, this is 4 times worse than the flu. So, for all of those conspiracy theorists who said to you, oh, this is just like the flu, go outside, don't worry about it, get some vitamin D, take the mask off. Now, you can go back to them because they're the ones who are saying, trust the science, right? So the science now says that at the very least, based on this small sampling, it is 4 times worse than the flu, right? So don't drink this. Don't try to shoot lights into your body and dismiss the conspiracy theorists. Those are the 3 things that I would ask you to do. And those things would not only save your life, but it'll save the lives of your loved ones, your family, and your neighbors. That's all I got to say. That's it.
Well, what I have to say is this. Once again, for those conspiracy theorists who believe that the information they get on the Eric Dawson show is bull, the governor yesterday confirmed what we said a month ago. Remember when they came out with the new numbers and it was so low?
Yep.
And I said those numbers are not accurate.
Yep.
And the real numbers, the first ones that were real high, were the true numbers?
Yep.
Okay. The governor yesterday confirmed that the death count that they have and that the people who have it, that count that they have, is not true. because they found out that people had it in New York since now February. Since before February. Some of them, in fact, they're tracing one that had it in late December.
But you know what, though? Listen, this is what I'm going to say. And I heard this
hold on.
Go ahead.
And he confirmed the death count was not accurate because they only counted people who have died in nursing homes or the hospital. And they did not count people who died or that were counted by having, the coroner said that they had things like heart attack, COPD, or asthma. Those are all coronavirus deaths.
Listen, remember I said to you guys regarding these conspiracy theorists and these protests that were propping up all over the place? Oh, Mary Walker said I can hear you now. Thank you, Mary, and thank you for listening. I told you that I was suspicious about these little things that were popping up all over the place, these protests.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, and I'm going to give you the full list by Monday, or as best I can. These are not organic protests. These are protests that are funded in large part by backers of Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to say this again. So all of what you see, these blogs that are popping up, these 501c4s that are popping up, all of these people who seem to be promoting opening up the economy when it seems to be a reckless thing, when your common sense is saying no, not yet, right? These are all organizations that have been seeded, right? And what I mean by that is that you got these larger groups of people who have money, and they've been sprinkling money to create these blog sites, to create these vlog sites, to create these 501c4s. So you see these fancy logos and things showing up, and people just seem to be out of their minds telling you to go to work. Well, they've been sent out there to tell you that. They're being paid to tell you that. And they're being paid to tell you that because there's an understanding within the Trump administration and all of those who are supporting him that if he doesn't get the economy up and going, he's toast in November. And so their job is to send you out by hook or crook, risking life and limb literally, so that he can boast jobs numbers, and he can boast a surging economy come November. So I want you to understand very clearly, when you see these people, so I'm not even going to call them conspiracy theorists anymore. I'm just going to call them ear hustlers. Because that's what they're doing. They're ear hustling you while they're shoving money in their pocket and watching you and your family members die. Shame on them. But that's what they're doing. And I'm going to give you a list of the organizations that are backing Trump that are seeding these groups. And I'm going to try to find out exactly who those groups are that are organizing these pop-ups throughout the states. And I'm going to give you those names too. Because we need to expose them. Because they're trying to get you to expose yourself to danger. It's sad. It really is sad, guys. You know, but we all need to call them out.
Oh, why don't we just have them all drink their bleach and get their ultraviolet lights?
No. Do not drink this. I don't even want them to drink it. I don't. You know, and I got to tell you, every now and again, and I shouldn't say this because I try to be a good person. Oh, for all of my Muslim friends and family members, Ramadan Mubarak. Have a great Ramadan. I gotta and but actually I digress a little bit, but that's important. I got a great text message this morning from a brother who wished me a good Ramadan, and he said, Inshallah, Assalamu alaikum. He said, I want to be the first person, and I want to reiterate this because I thought it was so beautiful. He said, I want to be the first person to invoke Allah's mercy on you for the first 10 days of Ramadan, his forgiveness for the middle 10 days, and his emancipation from the hellfire of the last 10 days. May he count you among those who will be admitted into Firdaus. May he grant you all that is good and prevent you from all that is bad in the world. And so, and the reason this came to my mind is because I'm gonna say it anyway. It would be nice, maybe, and it would save some lives, maybe, if some of the conspiracy theorists caught a bit of the corona. Just a little bit. I'm not wishing death on anybody.
Now, Eric, is that something that Allah would want? That's
See,
not
you know
nice.
what? Listen. Didn't Diane sound like that good angel on my shoulder? Like, now, Eric, don't go down that road. But listen, all I'm saying is this. Sometimes the proof is in the pudding. Sometimes God uses us, what they say, Diane, in mysterious ways.
God does not
Sometimes he uses us. Listen.
God does not do bad things to people.
No.
He
It's not.
allows the devil to
Wait,
happen.
Diane.
He doesn't do it to us.
No. I'm not saying it's a bad. Listen. Sometimes God uses us through trials and tribulations. Think about how much we talk about David. Think about how much we talk about all of those folks who went through all kinds of torment in the Bible and how they came through it and how it changed their hearts, right?
Right, but they were resistant people. They didn't know any better. You know better, Eric.
No. I'm talking about how he used them as examples. He took them down to the deep depths of, horror and ugliness so that they could rise up and proclaim him as God. Right? And his mercy. And so maybe if they had to deal with Rona and had to deal with, the pain and the agony and the thought that if they didn't get to a ventilator, they might not be here. If they had to deal with just a little bit of that, maybe they'd be a little more humble, Diane. See, because, and I know you think this is callous, but I think that what they do is callous. I think that as people are weeping right now because they have loved ones who've either passed or transitioning, and they can't be with them in the hospital, yet they continue to go out and pimp this propaganda. Maybe they need a dose of their own medicine, Diane. Just a little bit.
I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
I'm not asking you to, but and maybe when I'm off the phone.
What I will do is I'll go backwards. So you talked about having a blessed Ramadan. Explain what that means, because I'm a Christian and I don't understand it. So I need to understand. I want to understand. So what exactly is Ramadan and what happens during Ramadan?
Well, the simplest way to do it, because I don't want to prolong it, I'll post a link in so you can understand it. It is a time of the month for reflection and a whole bunch of other things. But the biggest thing that people get out of it, or that people understand, is a time where Muslims fast. But the fasting, there's a lot of things. I mean, one, it's healthy to do it. Secondly, it brings you closer to your Creator. It
clears your head.
Well, yeah, it could do a lot of things, right? There's some spiritual aspects to it as well. But in the end, it is a time. Yeah, it's a time. If
done right, it clears your head. Ramadan is the period of time of atonement. Yeah. Like every Christian group has a period of atonement. The Jews have their Day of Atonement. We do our atonement and sacrifice through Lent. And the Muslim is Ramadan. And it's a time of 30 days of fast and prayers and meditations to get solely focused on Allah, the God of their understanding. If it's done right, it brings a Muslim to a level of peace, a level of comfort, a level of spirituality and knowledge that's needed for him to get to the next year. If it's done wrong, it leads people to a level of anger, resentment. One of the things in terms of doing it right, it leads into a...
Just so people understand, because I want to be clear, just so people understand, I'm drinking, right, and Muslims are fasting. I'm drinking because if I don't, I'll fall out of the chair because I'm hypoglycemic. So I can't. Yeah.
But
I gotta do that.
It also brings them, if done wrong, it brings them to a level of anger, rage, and depression. The United States government always goes on high alert in the Middle East during the period of Ramadan.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, that's when all the bombings take place, or majority of the bombings take place during this period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the best thing about it is, after that fasting, is that now you introduce your body that has been disciplined all day. You introduce it to healthy, spiritual, wholesome food, and it gets nourishment to go on to the next day. It's a beautiful time.
It is a beautiful time
if done right. So I pray for all my Muslim brothers. Take this time and reflect, because one thing we have with this coronavirus right now in our household is time.
So, Diane, today's show is to discuss whether or not in the age of Corona or COVID-19, whether we are existing or surviving, given all of the things that are taking place. All of them, including this, right? So, I kind of made a little light of, this whole bleach thing, but it's serious, isn't it, Vincent? To have the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, stand up and suggest that you can ingest bleach to kill a virus. Wait a minute. And I want to say this. When he has access to some of the most brilliant minds out there in science and medicine, what does it say about him? It would be one thing if my 9-year-old or 8-year-old, I gotta even say my 6-year-old kid, right, asked me, Daddy, if you use bleach to clean off stuff and to kill germs, can you drink it to kill germs? Well, I would expect that from my 6-year-old, right? And then you explain to him, no, you can't, and then you make sure you lock the bleach away. But for Donald Trump, who's surrounded by brilliant minds. He had to. Where do you think that came from?
I think it came from him because, as we discussed him reading, you ever hear him read over the air?
He's still a child.
Right.
He has the brain of a child, and he's in an adult body. And there's a very good reason why he refused to release his medical records when he became president, is because there is mental illness and lack of deficiency in mentalness that he does not have. And there's the reason why he has gotten as far as he has in this world but continues to file bankruptcy and do the things that he does is because he really isn't smart.
No, he's not.
Smart. He's not educationally smart. He's what they would call, and I don't know if they still use the word, he's mentally retarded. He really is.
They don't use, no, not retarded anymore.
Or what's the word for dumb then?
Yeah.
He's on a level. He's really
dumb?
on a child level.
Dumb?
And
Well,
let's do again any child, but he really is.
Well, he's not on the high end of the spectrum. We know that. And
Spectrum. Can't get to it. That's the problem.
but what we also find out about him is that Hillary Clinton was right. That man is not fit to be president. anytime that you can tell America that's suffering through one of the greatest tragedies in our history, that, you know, you're going to open up by Easter because he likes Easter, he's not fit. Yeah. When you have the greatest minds working hard, you know, some of them getting 4 hours or 3 to 4 hours sleep a day to solve the problem and develop a vaccine for this virus, and you let cronyism kick them out of a position where they can do the best work for mankind. You're not fit. When you sit up here and you give $1.4 trillion to corporations, and you only give $1,200 to taxpayers with direct deposits, you know, you're not fit. When are people going to wake up? Well, no, you don't have to wake up anymore. Just drink the bleach.
Well,
it's better than the Kool-Aid.
Well, so I wouldn't say that he's not fit in that respect. I would say he's not fit in other ways. See, him doing the business of corporations is not about being fit or not. It's where his focus is. Him telling people that they should drink bleach, or rambling like a 6-year-old, talking about, for epidemiologists who've studied for decades their craft, for him to say, oh, I like this stuff. I'm really good at this stuff, right? I mean, he sounds like a 6-year-old. And then for him to talk about shooting light inside of your body, can't that do something, he says? In those instances, you see where he's not fit. But what they did understand was that he could carry out, the objective of big business. And he's doing that effectively. Very effectively.
Eric, I do not consider, when my child was 6 years old, I consider my children to be bright and, somewhat, on the curve or above the curve. Yet, they could not focus on, my son couldn't focus on whether he wanted to be a cowboy or a fireman. I don't think that mentality is fit to run the most powerful country in the known free world. Nor is that mentality fit enough to actually get us through or show the leadership that we need to get through this virus. I don't know.
No. I listen, I agree with you there that in these instances, so let's look at what he does, right? What he does well. And when I say well, I mean looking at the perspective, right? So in terms of the Christian right, they think that he's doing a great job in terms of the federal judges that he's appointed, right? They think that he's doing well. In terms of the transfer of wealth in the tax cuts and what he's done with the stimulus package, you have corporations thinking that he's doing a great job. You understand? So I'm saying matter of perspective. So they're benefiting from that. So he's not inept when it comes to doing those things. In the areas that we need him to be functional and literate, right, and have common sense, he's failing miserably. Call or go.
Good morning. How are you doing today, Eric?
Good morning. I'm well.
My question is, everybody's missing the bigger picture. When we I went to college for a bachelor's and master's degree, right?
Okay.
I'm talking about paying a better 7 to 8 years in school just to say I've done so and so, right? Now all of a sudden, all these experts are coming out of the woodwork.
Hey, caller, your sound on your phone is a little muffled.
Okay, you hear me now?
A little better. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me change the speed.
Yeah.
Can you hear me there?
That's a little better. Go ahead. Thank you.
I'm looking at the fact that we have all these people who have told to become expertise in their field. How many people that have all of a sudden come out of the woodwork
of our experts with this coronavirus when nobody really knows about what it really is. But yet, to say they're expert status, how can they be an expert if something new just come out? It takes years of learning sometimes just to become an expert at whatever you're doing. But yet, all of a sudden, everybody is an expert.
Well, if I could answer that for you, caller, first and foremost, we've got people who have dedicated their lives over 20 plus years in pathology, human pathology, genealogy, and endocrine. I'm sorry, losing my train here. But we're talking about people who have given their lives and know a lot about it, which qualifies them to be a lot better and a lot smarter for those who just basically read the news cycles. Now, those people are in the CDC, or were in the CDC and the WHO, who have been working on finding a cure, getting the information out to the world, and giving people a level to prepare themselves for what we are experiencing. Now, they're popping out of the woodworks as experts because normally they work behind the scenes. It's not a glamorous, it's not a newsworthy position being that type of scientist until situations that we have like right now. When people have to shelter in place, when you have to, hold a gun to somebody's head so he could put his mask on and stop talking to you in the supermarket, when you have to now in your home use it as the living room, use it as your office, and use it as the school and exercise for your family. Now these experts are popping out because what America needs to know is the truth. We don't need somebody telling us that it does not exist. It's a democratic hoax. We don't need someone to tell us that, you can put some ultraviolet lights in your body and drink bleach and it'll cure it. What we need is someone who is smarter than us to give us the true estimate of what we're facing and how we can deal with it.
Well, why does 45 think he know it all?
Because 45 is an egotistical, germaphobe, narcissistic piece of dupe who best thing that he could do is cover his tracks and blame everybody else for his mistakes. We elected the man that's been bankrupt more times than most people can file a bankruptcy. Yeah. But we elect him to the office of president. We elect a man who does nothing but pad the pockets and increase the wealth of his friends and constituents and starve the common man.
Well, caller, so, it's clear that Donald Trump has a huge ego, right? I mean, he ascended to president of the United States. I mean, how do you do that without having an ego? So...
or talent.
Yeah. And so, he believes that he knows some things, but the onus is on us to continue to push back, to continue to search for facts. My big concern through all of this, and the question is, are we existing or surviving? And I'd like you to answer that in terms of you. Do you believe that you're existing or surviving? But we have to become intellectually curious because, having the most powerful man in the world, or say that we should ingest bleach, is just very dangerous.
Look, I don't believe he's the most powerful, because if he was, he could get more things done. He has lost whatever little clout he had once he showed his stupidity. Because even though those folks that follow him, they're just as stupid as he is, and they can't see the door for the light that's blocking it. And for some reason, stupid follows stupid. And when I watch the commercials now, I pointed out to my wife where when you watch the commercial, it's always the black people doing something stupid in the commercial. Very seldom you see the white folks doing the stupid thing. I'm going to give you a good example. If you look at a commercial of a white family outside on the lawn, walking. Their lawn is cut, it's trimmed neatly, like as they have their own barber to do the lawn. But I've watched the black commercials, and you always see trash in the gutter, lawns not cut, children running around with their hair out and looking all bad. But in the white commercial with the white folks, you don't see that. Next time, pay attention to it. And they're always downgrading black people of color, because they don't deserve to be lifted up this white society.
Yeah.
And that's what I see.
Yeah. That's true. So, Cole, let me ask you a question. Are you?
Caller, have you ever heard of the term white trash?
Well, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I lived near some of them, and they're not all that well kept.
Right.
Kids are hungry, dirty, lawns jacked up, trailer leaning. I mean, it's a matter of the individual person. There are,
you don't put them on social media either, like the black people.
See, the problem that we look at is some of the people in our neighborhood, and that attitude or model or prototype is fueled by white mainstream media. But, the black people I live near are great, well-manicured lawns. Kids are on their way to college, keep everything is nice, of course, in place, have great parties and events, great to talk to and be around, and wonderful conversationalists.
I agree with you all about it. They don't want, 45 don't want to see the mainstream black family. Trust me, they don't want to lift them up. That's why we see all the negatives in them. They want to keep that in the background, so the rest of the world won't see that black people are just well off, if not better off, than many of the white families in America. And that's what's happening.
Exactly. They don't want to, a lot of people, and 45 included, do not want to show America the positive image of black people who are making changes. You see, every time there's bad news, 45 brings up the black Surgeon General to give the bad news.
So, caller.
And Mike Pence to give all the great, glorious news of what they're lying about doing.
But, caller, let me ask you this question. Caller, do you live in Essex County?
Well, I'm calling you. I live in Maryland.
You live in Maryland. Do you live in a predominantly black community?
Are you?
I'm sorry.
Are you in Prince George County?
No, I'm in Winnow County.
Okay. So how are, because we could talk about how black folks are portrayed, what Donald Trump wants to do, and how he did. I'm more focused on what the things that we can do for ourselves, right? So I'd rather, if I'm traveling through Newark or East Orange or Irvington or areas of Bloomfield, the town that I live in, where you have a lot of black folks, I'd rather talk to them and empower them to clean their own neighborhoods up than to talk about what Donald Trump won't portray on the news, right? Or how he, the light that he puts us in. So in your community, how do black folks portray themselves?
It's a very diverse. We have both ends of the spectrum. And the ones that's a higher end usually try to keep the ones at the lower end in check, because what we have here we don't want to lose, and yet we, as black families as a whole, all over the years, I've seen it decline and parents being able to control what their children do, what the children say, and the places they go, the companies they keep. Because one time, I've seen a time when the street light came on, you had to be in the house.
Right.
And that's not the way anymore.
Right.
So, and trying to keep the concept and that mentality among the black children is hard, but yet we still try to do it on a daily basis.
Right.
So wait, Vincent. Vincent, please let me. I want to. So caller,
Yeah.
are you an essential worker or a non-essential worker? Have you been laid off? Are you working right now?
I haven't worked in 10 years, so that doesn't put me in that ballpark. I know people who are in that situation.
Okay, so are you in the area that you're in? Are you guys sheltering in place? What's going on there?
In my neighborhood, we're more or less sheltering in place. Our homes might be 10 or 20 feet apart. We're basically sheltering in place. We don't have no congregation of individuals, except maybe one or two families that do that. They have a bunch of people out there, but the rest of them basically sheltering in place. And even in the stores and stuff, they're more or less people, they're not congregating like they used to. Even though we might have pockets of areas like that, basically, what I see is where, something in place to avoid getting sick, really.
All right. Excellent. So, I mean, have you had any family members or friends, loved ones, contract COVID-19?
I a cousin who just died. I don't know whether or not he had it or not, because he was in Philadelphia when it happened, and it's been 4 weeks now, and we still haven't heard anything about what's going on or how things are being taken care of. All I know is his remains are still laid up in a funeral home, waiting for the cemetery here in Maryland to call them and say they could bury him. The best cemetery here is only taking one family a day's bury, and so they can be backed up forever and a day now.
Wow. Well, listen, caller, I thank you for calling in.
Hold on. Can I ask him a couple of questions?
Quickly. Yeah, go ahead.
Quick. Caller, I believe that you're from the same age frame or mindset that I grew up in. That was the age frame of the black agenda and consistency. For example, Oprah is from that mindset. So when Jamie Foxx was an Oscar nominee, he went out and partied and started acting up, getting negative press in the media. Oprah gave him a call. She's from the black mind frame of representation, of elevating our race. She called him up and told him he was blowing it and come to her house. When he came to her house, she had him talk to Sidney Poitier, and they both explained to him the mindset and representation of black people, especially black people who are in the spotlight, who are about to get one of the highest awards for thespians, and told him what you do personally affects what you do professionally, and it affects what people see when they look at black people. You should conduct yourself as a level of royalty, because you have reached the highest honor that a lot of black people and black actors can't dream to reach. You have reached a plateau that gives more credibility to black people than you can ever imagine. You should conduct yourself, your house, your walk, your talk to everyone. It should not be the total black experience of negativity. It should be the black experience of progression, grace, knowledge, intelligence, and the ability to saying that I am not the only black person with these characteristics. You live in that mindset where mothers told those young mothers, you don't let your babies go out looking like this. Where fathers stepped in and told other men that you need to support these kids.
Yeah.
And
that's what's missing.
But the downside of that, in a lot of these states, You know, we have pastors who have gotten hooked up into the mind, the Donald Trump syndrome. You know, you might not see it openly, but they'll do negative things to people just to get ahead or have the congregation make them love him. I pastored the church one time for 4 years, and I got tired of people playing games. So I resigned because I could not. I didn't want to live a lie. You know, I didn't want to keep on doing something, just be doing it. Like I hear some preachers say, "Oh, well, people gonna do things anyway," but it's not about that. It's about doing what's right. And if I can't do what's right as a leader, I don't want to talk, because if I have to compromise the way I think and the way I do things, it's not going to work, because I'm going to have to answer for that. And that's what I have found in a lot of these churches now. Preachers have compromised just to get things done. And that's happening now all over America. Talking about opening church doors, talking about what God's going to take care of us. Yeah, God's going to take care of you. He'll give you a nice spot of church to put you in. And people miss that point. We live in a world that has corrupted the people that's already corrupt. And the more we do things wrong, the more our social people right, because so does it. Right? And that's the way children think. They see you doing things, and they follow you. So I got a grandchild that's 3 years old, and I used to put boards put on the table that I used to take a pinch out and season my food. That grandchild started doing it, so I had to move it. And children follow what you see. We got to learn our children nowadays, now and tomorrow, that things need to be done right if you're going to do them. If you're not going to do them right, don't do them.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, caller, again, thank you for calling in. Thank you for sharing. Continue your social distancing, wearing your mask and your gloves. I hope your loved one, I hope their remains get taken care of. I hope you guys can find some peace and solace in all of what, the craziness that's going on. Thank you for listening.
All right. Same here to you and all, especially Lady Diane. She gave you a hard time this morning, but
she did, man. She always gives me a hard time.
Wait a minute. I don't give anybody a hard time. I just try to keep them on track.
No, you give people a hard time.
Yeah.
He wasn't off track, but he derailed you. She was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
I joked. Diane,
Listen, we're going to be right
joking.
back after this commercial break. Let's take this commercial. We'll be right back.
Well, God bless you all.
God bless you. Hey, keep that energy and keep spreading the word of black representation, because that's the difference between us existing and surviving.
We'll be right back.
Yes, indeed.
Vincent, turn your phone.
Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you. For security you can count on, visit www.bbsillc.com or call 1-800-493-1859 today.
There we are. Welcome back, guys. Diane, is my phone not loud enough?
It's much better now, but when you're talking against Vincent's phone, his volume is up a little bit too loud, but yours is good, better now.
Okay.
It's good.
All right. I gotta, what do they call it in theater, Vincent, or in singing? You have to project, is that it?
Projection.
Yes, you have, yeah, Eric, you have to project and or move the mic closer to your mouth.
Well, I can't move the mic closer to. Well, you know what I got to do, and I've been procrastinating. I got to get a long cord because I have my phone plugged into a short cord, and then I have my lavalier mic connected to the cord near the phone so that the people can hear you guys. And so
So in other words, you ordering all of this cooking stuff, and you need to get the equipment that you need to get. Because you Betty Crocker over there. Ordering cakes and cobblers.
Diane, I was up until 3 o'clock. No, I'm sorry. I'm delirious right now. I literally, when we ended the show yesterday, I had to, fulfill some orders. So I baked until 12:30, right? Then I got home, went to bed, was up at 4, was back in the kitchen baking, and then had to rush to put on my shirt and my jacket and get ready for the show. So I'm operating on like 3.5 hours of sleep right now. So that's where I am. So I'm a little delirious. And no, I'm gonna try to order the longer cord later on today. I'll order it from Amazon, and then I'll be able to bring it closer up. So anyway, what is the other news that's going on today? Hello.
Diane.
Oh, I don't know.
Diane.
Listen, I think that we all are. I think we're all.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't. I had you on mute. You said what was the other news we were talking about?
Listen, I think we're all a little discombobulated right now. I got to tell you, I am close to being corona burned out, but I'm hanging in there because stuff is. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. Guys, listen. What was I gonna say? I'm telling you, I really am operating on 3 hours of sleep. I was gonna talk about the election. I know. Joe Biden is scary. That's where I was going. We're talking, Vincent, about Donald Trump. Joe Biden is scary. Very, very scary. And I know that we don't want somebody in there promoting us drinking bleach and shooting light into us, and somebody who's, pushing all of this money, to corporations and denying everyday people, but I'm not convinced that Joe Biden is the one.
Well, a lot of people share in your belief.
I mean, scary. And when I say scary, this is what I mean. It'd be one thing if he had never served as vice president or in the Senate. And I think he was a congressman too, right? At one point.
Not sure about that.
So, but he's been there for a long time. And I've got to say that even from the comfort of his own home, he's really unprepared in talking about all of these issues. He's got notes that he can't read. And I don't want him to read notes because the notes come from somebody else, right? Somebody else wrote them and said, hey, Joe, this is what you should be saying. I want to know what the guy is feeling, what he really believes. I don't want him parroting. I mean, do you understand what I'm getting at, Vincent? I don't know him. So the whole thing about his malarkey tour when he was getting ready to do it or trying to do it was that he was like, this, Uncle Joe, the guy that everybody knows and loves. I don't know him. And everything he talks about isn't him talking. Literally everything. From the moment he jogged up on that stage in whatever town that was in when he launched his campaign, all of it was staged from that moment on. The jogging up on the stage, the ripping off the sunglasses, the rolling up the sleeves. That was all very orchestrated and calculated. And nothing since then has been authentic. So I'm very concerned. And look, very concerned. Very concerned. I don't know that you can get worse than Donald Trump, but I know we can do better than both of them.
Well, look, Eric, we ain't got nobody else. Ain't no need to talk about him because we're going to be talking about him for the next 4 years. I'm voting for him. Trump got to go. I don't want to vote for him. That's what it's going to be. Is what it's going to be. And all I could do is not only hope and pray, but send in my resume so I can go down there and help him. Because what I can't do is afford another president that is not lucid or mentally capable of being able to make decisions.
Do you believe that Joe Biden is lucid?
I said that's not lucid. I said we don't need anybody else who's not lucid. No, I don't believe he's lucid. I think he's out of it too. Did I say it backwards? I'm not quite sure. I just woke up not too long ago. So either way, he ain't the one, but he's all we got right now. And I hate to say it. It pains me to say it. But this is our fault again, because there were other candidates prior to this that people didn't throw their support behind because, one, they said, oh, a woman can never be president, or a black person can never be, or this, so they had all these reasons why they didn't support during the primaries in their states, and now this is what we have left to choose from, him or Trump, So my teeter is going up and down, and boom, Donald Trump is not getting my vote, ever, anytime at all. In fact, once we put him out of office, we need to prosecute him and exile him out of the country.
I agree with Diane. We're looking at two things. One, Diane's absolutely right, and I would rather vote for him than not vote at all. Because when I decide not to vote, we end up with Trump again. Just like when we not voted for Hillary Clinton. Also, Joe Biden's political career was over until the black vote came in the Carolinas. Now, Joe Biden has a debt that we should hold him to in this next election and presidential term. Because I'm hoping that he does win. And I'm hoping that all those black people who supported him remind him and hold his feet to the fire that no, we are not going back to the same old thing or go back to normal. We are now pushing for a new norm.
How do we do that? But how do we, wait a minute. So, okay, let's start with the very first thing. He owes a debt of gratitude to the black community. Does he pick a black vice presidential running mate?
There are a lot of great black and especially women candidates that he can take.
Do you think he's going to pick one?
I don't know, because I don't know his people to get that answer. Because before I speak, I usually research it to a point where, it can be documented, and the Eric Dawson Show can be once again undefeated in its predictions.
Well, I'm going to predict right here that he's not going to pick a black running mate. He's not.
Oh.
And I'm going and you know what I'm going to predict too? That black folks are going to say, well, that's okay, but he's all we got. We got to still vote for him. And then I predict that he's going to shaft black people. And then black folks are going to go, that's okay, but he's better than Trump. And then in the end, we will have gotten nothing, not moved one step further toward whatever our goal ought to be. And then what we will say in the end is, well, at least we didn't have Trump.
And that improves the American condition by 100% of what we're experiencing right now. That's what I'm saying. He may not be the best candidate, as Diane said. But you know what? He's a lot better than the candidate that he's running against. I will simply take that with the hopes of the next election or presidential term that we then look for, support back, and elect someone who is better than him. That's our goal. Whether he has done some things in the past or whatever the case may be, that's for the slave whisperers, to talk about, to discredit him. And we found out that these slave whisperers, these people who are working the fields and arousing a mob against conspiracy theories, fraud, and pushing their own agenda because they are led by people who are against us, has not helped us any. I say that we should back, support, and hold him to the fire. That's how our vote counts. That's how the black community has power, and that's how we make changes that we so desperately need. There's no way in 2020 that we should be dealing with the same issues that our grandparents dealt with. There is no way. When we have 13% of the population and 86% of the Democratic vote, that we should be in this condition. Hell no, I don't think he's the best candidate in the world, but I think he's a lot better than what we have. I'd rather go through it and take my chances with him than continue on with Donald Trump. See, we go on by this theory that the devil that we know is better than the devil that we don't. No, that's bullcrap. That's that Stockholm syndrome that gets people to rile against Donald Trump. Black people riling for Donald Trump, campaigning with Donald Trump, knowing that he's not going to do anything because you're dealing with that Stockholm syndrome. No. We should now put our hopes in a change for us. Something that will help move that black needle and bridge that gap of that racial divide of the haves and the have-nots. Because we're the majority of the people that have not.
Wow. I agree. Buford Williams says, Diane says, black people have been set up for another letdown. So listen, this just came across, and we talked about this too. When and I wonder what people like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and the rest of those guys, Laura Ingraham, when they were pushing this hydroxychloroquine. Now the FDA comes out. This posted 35 minutes ago. It says FDA warns against using hydroxychloroquine for coronavirus outside of hospitals. Right now, if you remember, I don't know how many of you guys watch, Fox News. I watch all of the stations because I want to get all of the news, or I want to get all of the angles, right? All the perspectives. And on Fox News, they were like literally just carting out person after person who talked about how they use hydroxychloroquine and they got better immediately and how they should use it. And the president said, just like he said, you should use this bleach, said that you should use this. And now I noticed, when they had done their initial studies and said, Vincent and Diane, that this was dangerous and that folks shouldn't be using it. Now there's just no more conversation about it on Fox News. It's not. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like they came back and said, "Hey guys, you know what? This is what we told you before, but now there's new science out here that says no, you shouldn't be doing that." And I think it's very dangerous. But the headline is out there. FDA said it. So if you know somebody who, again, was gullible enough to listen to Donald Trump, please share this article with them and tell them don't use it.
Well, here's the thing. First, Fox News is the Republican news spin. It's not a real news cycle because everything that they talk about and spins leads to favoring the approval of Donald Trump.
Well, I think that all of them are like that now. I think that MSNBC is like that. I think Rachel Maddow, certainly Lawrence O'Donnell, well, Chris Matthews is no longer there, but they were all very left-leaning, and when we had Obama in office, all roads led to to favorable news about him and helping him get reelected. So I have no respect for either of them.
But see, we also have to look at, they were talking about the negative effects, and scientists were saying that they don't believe that was the cure-all drug for this pandemic. What we found is that the better angels were shouted down by the political campaign and management and PR machine of Donald Trump. And now that it's found to be even a larger truth, because it was a small truth and spoken very quietly. Now that the science had backed up what they were saying, now what are they doing? They're firing all the people that were against this drug. The only thing that Donald Trump did was increase the sales of that drug from the pharmaceuticals, or Big Pharma wins again.
Right, and so
they knew it.
I think
one
of the things that you're 100% right, and I think one of the things that we need to look at, and I'm sure if you do, you'll find that somewhere along the line, somebody close to Donald Trump made a lot of money. Made a lot of money because all they got was an endorsement, right? That's all that was a commercial. So. Keep
in mind that's the same Big Pharma that's backing Cory Booker for his presidential run. That was the same Big Pharma that keeps northern New Jersey water polluted, and nothing has been done. That's the same Big Pharma that all these Negro whisperers tend to ignore while they go out there and talk their conspiracy theories. That's what that is all about. It's about the spin. They're shouting louder, and the people who know better are silent. Because nobody wants to get into that negative spin. That's one of the reasons we don't have good candidates run for office, because they don't want to deal with the negativity. Do you know how many false rumors and false media is about me? Don't read between the lines, nor reach out to me to find out if it's true or confirm it. Why do you think I got so many lawsuits? I've been winning case after case on all of these people who put all this negative press about me. Knew it was negative, knew it was false. Yet it was done to taint an image so that the wrong person can remain in power and continue to F up black people's lives.
Hello, caller, go.
Yes, this is Mary Walker from Montclair Underground. How are you?
Oh, hey, Mary.
Hey, Mary.
Hi. How are you? I'm not very much for the public appearances. However, I would be remiss if I didn't call in today and share something I have on my mind as related to the current situation where Trump has recommended we, drink the bleach and, stay in the sun and all that mess that's going on right now. What I want to say is that due to the situation in our community, the black community, and many people dying and losing their lives, people being turned away from the hospital 3 or 4 times with symptoms, we're being turned away to go home and die. It is very important that we start to share knowledge and information among ourselves so that we can battle this virus. There are many natural and ancient remedies and old school remedies that we can do to save our lives. And we need to share this information within the community, get it out there to the millions, to the thousands of people who need it, so that 1, they can survive the virus, and 2, they can exist after the survival and they heal from it, or we will die. So
Go ahead.
That's mainly what I wanted to say. That those who have information, if you have a neighbor or a relative, somebody who has survived the virus, find out what the people did to survive. Find out what they're doing. Share it, and another person share it, and another person share it, because we are being sent home to die, and we have to come up with our own resources, how to treat the symptoms, and the many different things that you can do. We need to start doing that.
I agree with you 100%. And that's the difference between us existing as a people and surviving. If we continue on this existence of listening to the fake media and the Negro whispers that they pay to give you false information, we're going to die. She's absolutely right. I know some friends who, in fact, my wife and I, we're going to take the test because we believe that we have had it, the coronavirus, so we're going to take the antibody test. But surviving it, and that includes, doing those remedies. I've talked to people who have had it and survived, and it was citric acid, orange juice, grapefruit juice, fruit in general, and chicken soup, because it starts off, you don't have a taste or smell, which means that decreases your appetite, which decreases your immune system. Chicken soup is the only thing that you can actually eat and without tasting or smelling it, and it's chicken soup. Orange juice, the citric acid that breaks up that virus and the bacteria in your body, and it gives you strength to move forward. But listen, if you think that drinking bleach, they used to say drink the Kool-Aid, but I think the new mantra for Donald Trump is drink the bleach. That's not going to help you.
And let me add, I know everyone has their own personal tips, and, it's very important for people to do their research.
Right.
And, the mind is very powerful. So we have the ability to collect, analyze, and figure out what information we can keep, what we can throw out, what will work for us. Use some common sense. There's some other things that, have been recommended, some things that I've used, and, I was also sick, and I'm not sure because, we're not being tested. However, I believe some things help save my life. People are very familiar with ginger root. You can use ginger to make fresh ginger tea. It's anti-inflammatory. There's also something someone put me on. It's helping. There's sumac, ground sumac.
Ground sumac, yeah.
Yeah, SUMAC. And there's also the organic dandelion tea. You can get it in the powder form or tea form. And elderberry, the vitamins, vitamin C, as you put it. There's so many things that you can do to build up your immune system, clean out your lungs, and cleanse your system that will treat the symptoms. Although there's nothing to cure it right now, you could treat the symptoms so that you may survive. So I just want to recommend everyone do their research, find out what those things are. If you have information, please share it. At least give people the names of the products. Like, for example, I mentioned the sumac, so people can go out and research it. So we can't give, a workshop class, on your show. That's not possible. But there's so much information out there right now for people to look it up. Make yourself knowledgeable. It's not like, some people say, well, people say, oh, just take this or take that, come up with these quack remedies or whatever, and we don't know what to do, how much to take or whatever. Well, that's why you do your research.
But
you do have to be proactive to a certain degree.
You do.
And in your health. So that's all I have to say, and that's what I was calling in for.
Man,
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, because I know the underground has a pretty good following, and everything that you said is high in antioxidants, which does treat the symptom, and it boosts your immune system. What do you think about these fools that are going around with a sign, without a mask, and talking to people, telling them that the coronavirus is fake?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on that. Do you have time?
No.
5 minutes. Do we have 5 minutes?
Can you break it down to 2?
Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, I can get it down in 2. I've lived in New Jersey for 20 years, but I'm originally from Michigan, the state of Governor Whitmer. And there is a movement that's going on behind the scenes, and they have an agenda. So it's just not about they going back to work. They are trying to undermine the governor in order. Yeah, so I guess in a nutshell, that's what it's about. And we are being held up as sacrificial lambs because a lot of people there, let me say, for example, in Michigan, outside of southeast Michigan, where Wayne County, Detroit, where you have the predominantly black population, outside of southeast Michigan, it's predominantly white, the rest of the state, upper Michigan. So they believe it's a disease, that black people will get and die from, that they won't. So just open up the rest of the state and let all the black people die. That's what that is about. So it's wrong. Also, the coronavirus, it's not the Chinese virus, it's not the black virus. It wouldn't be over here in the United States, if, it was just the Chinese virus. It started in China, Europe, and came over here to the United States. So the coronavirus is not just going to attack the black population and skip the white population. So it's just pure ignorance rooted in racism.
So these black people who are pushing that this is fake and it doesn't affect black people and all of that conspiracy theory are actually helping the racist agenda to eliminate them.
And that is planted, I believe that has been planted in our head. That information, a lot of times people plant information in our community so that we are not proactive in doing the things that we need to do.
So if they get us to do nothing, we die.
They get us to do nothing, we die.
That's very powerful, and you did it in 2 minutes. I love you.
Man, thank you for calling. Here's a, I'm looking at a post by Leonard Wheeler in the thread, and he says, and I agree with this, he says, if this pandemic has done nothing else, it has proved, at least to him, he says, that the world needs to become less dependent on pharmaceutical remedies for health salvation and become more naturalistic in the manner in which we build our bodies, immune systems. But the counter to that is, that whole naturalistic approach seems to be more of an underground kind of thing, right? Because what we're inundated with, through television advertisements, and even when we go to visit our doctors, is they're pushing pharmaceuticals, right? Everybody's pushing pharmaceuticals, and to get to more naturalistic remedies, like you said, we have to go do the research, right? Whereas you could just sit on your couch and they're serving you commercial after commercial, ad after ad about the pharmacy, because we're not, and I say this, that the majority of us are not intellectually curious. So we'll sit on the couch, and while we're watching whatever our favorite show is, well, they just serve us up another commercial.
Yeah. The only thing that the black people are monolithic in terms of media consumption. We're not monolithic in terms of research and actually going out on proven facts. I have nothing against holistic pharmacy, because if you look at it, the pharmaceuticals that we get come from natural plants. Now, but what I am against is holistic pharmacy without the proper dosage, because some people tend to overload on it because they think it works, so we double down, which does a negative effect, and it decreases the rate of the pharmaceutical, even holistic, to our bodies. But what I am against in terms of big pharma is the fact that they push their agenda, even though they have something that works. And believe me, a lot of it comes through the strenuous practice of test, research, data of the research before they produce it. But then they bring in something like the the other pill that was approved from the FDA for one particular point, but then because of money want to push it to be the cure-all for this point.
Right.
And that's where I'm against the big pharmaceuticals. Yeah. The greed and the money that they do in making it. Do you know that American pharmaceuticals charge 7.5 times more than any other country?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and it's all of... But
Mary, are you still there?
Yes,
so
I'm here.
Are you sheltered in place?
Yeah, I am sheltering in place, and I am doing well. And I just want to make a comment on, kind of piggyback on that last comment about the pharma industry. All that goes around the testing and the approval, FDA approval of medicines. They go through a rigorous trial before the drugs are approved, and then they are approved. Right now, with the coronavirus, we have nothing. There's no cure. There are no drugs. There's nothing. All we have are the natural and ancient remedies. And we talk about the rigor of the trial process and approval process, of the pharma industry drugs. However, there are natural remedies that have, if you will, the trial of hundreds of years. And that's, again, why our research comes into play, because there are many things out there that actually do work, that are natural, that will not harm your body. And, of course, people won't tell you this, because in America, it's a capitalistic society, and they rather sell you something, at an astronomical cost than you go buy something from the market that costs pennies on the dollar for you to use, to buy and use. So, again, I recommend, because these are remedies that have been around for hundreds of years that actually work. This is not quack medicine. So just do your research and find out what's there, because we have nothing else. Donald Trump said, during his campaigning, he told black people, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Well, evidently, during this time, it's our lives.
Amen.
And we have nothing else but these natural, ancient remedies that we can look into, because they really, we really, or the industry really doesn't know what is going on. they really don't know how to treat this. There's no vaccine. So I say, again, do your research and learn how to treat the symptoms. Learn how to build up your immune system, because we have tried and true remedies that will not harm you. Right. So, I just wanted to pass on that information.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, and continue to shelter in place. What do they call it? Social distance, and be safe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And I will be listening in for the rest of the last half an hour of the show.
Appreciate it. So
okay, thank you so much.
Thanks. So on to the natural medicine part. It is it's a challenge, though, isn't it, Vincent?
Yes.
For instance, I mean, I'll speak for myself, right? I remember when I was first diagnosed with cancer. Literally, when I posted up on Facebook, I got dozens of text messages, inboxes, phone calls from people, and they were all telling me, Eric, don't take chemotherapy. Here are all of the natural things that you can take that'll heal you. Don't do it. Don't take it. Don't take it. Take this, take that, take the other thing. When you're in the middle of the storm, right? And you're looking and you're trying to figure it out, it is challenging. I would say, if you have not previously done the research into whatever, a naturalistic approach you want to take, or if you don't have someone that you literally trust with your life. Because that's what it comes down to, right? It comes down to, if somebody's telling you to take this over this other thing, caller, please. I hear, whatever the ticking is. Yeah, go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
Hey, what caused Donald Trump to say what he said, because the guy from the Homeland Security, the other doctor who's doing the study, want therapeutics for the treatment of the virus. I guess, it was about, asymptomatic people and the things that you can do. But Donald Trump, in his mind, took it to another level. Now, let me say this about, the virus. It's most powerful in ill-informed communities, populations, ill-informed populations that are not adhering to things that will keep the virus under wraps. If you look at where it's doing its most harm, it's overdeveloped places and in places where people are close proximity to one another. All of this other stuff is creating confusion and making it harder to fight this thing. So if we can stay, I understand, if we do things, I was listening to a dental hygienist on what he suggested is, if you gargle with Listerine 4 to 5 times a day when you're out here, I'm walking with my Listerine, like, you gotta create some kind of therapy for yourself that the viruses don't like. Just look up what kill viruses that you can take, but I'm not saying go out and take no chlorine or like that. I'm just saying that if you look at where the virus has made a home, or the people who have made themselves hosts for the virus, who are not informing themselves. They're out here just walking around doing whatever, and then the leadership who just made these perfect consumers so that they don't just walk around and do X, Y, and Z. They're not really putting this information out there either. I understand you got to be careful when you're in a leadership position, but you made these conditions right for viruses to exist in the first place. You overdeveloping, you putting people in every little corner of a damn community, and now it's coming back to haunt us. So I just want people to just understand that it's a population, our population. If we can inform people with the right tools, the numbers will drop drastically. It's not simple, but the mind is what was that commercial? The mind is a terrible thing to waste. With the ad, we need to start running that damn commercial, because these people out here, some of these people out here coming up with some of this stuff, and these arguments are taking people out in left field when we need to be watching home plate. We need to be at home. Some of these arguments don't even need to be had.
Well, and you know what? I don't have a lot of them anymore. So, for instance, somebody asked me, I posted and I talked about at the top of the hour that they had done the antibody study, and in doing the antibody study, they determined in New York that out of the 3,000 people they tested, little over 13% of the folks showed that they had at some point had coronavirus. And so when they projected that out, they said that they estimate that some 2.7 million people, New Yorkers, had contracted at some point or another coronavirus. And so when I posted that information, I got somebody commented in the thread and said, well, how much of this do you think is man-made, and how much do you think they injected in us, and how many? And I said, listen, I said, and this is kind of where I am to your point, Mike. I said, look, social distancing, wearing masks, wearing gloves, sheltering in place, I said, it slows down and reduces the curve, and it saves lives. I said, I don't have time for conspiracy theories. See, because they want to take your time up talking about this nonsensical BS, right? As opposed to talking about these things that have worked. And one of the craziest parts for me is this. I was watching the news last night. Have you guys seen this? So when you watch the news, people who are propagating or promoting these conspiracy theories, what they say is, well, it's not as bad as everybody said it was going to be. Well, but it's not as bad because folks listened. Folks sheltered in place. Folks wore masks, right? People social distance. If they didn't do that, and what they were saying was if they didn't do that, then we would have all of these issues. And so they can't even give you that. These conspiracy theorists, they're so wrapped up in their BS that they can't even give you that. They can't even say, you know what? It worked. These people sheltered in place. They saved lives. And you know what? Probably even saved your mother's life, or your grandmother's life, or your child's life, or your life. Come on.
Yeah, but let me just say this, then I got to get back out here. Vince, hold that thought, Vincent, not to cut you off. But, no, I mean, what is really starting to make me think that this thing is sinister is the fact that even they need to, on large scales, from the very beginning, I've been saying this, this testing thing, all these people, we're going to get tests soon, the tests to come in, the tests, they're going to give us 100 this and a test of that. But they're not making no attempt to mass test people like they need to. And Dr. Fauci even said this, that if we don't start testing people, like this thing is going to just linger on for a long time. But go ahead.
Well, it's all political, Mike. So the whole thing... The whole thing is political, right? You got to understand that. The testing will give information that could be damning to both campaigns, right? Be damning to the entire government. So they don't want to give this testing.
No, they don't, because the testing proves that the numbers that they said, and the testing proves the numbers that they said in the beginning were right. Now, if we don't test, then the low numbers stand to be the truth, and it's not the truth. The governor even said that yesterday of New York. And what we have to do. And by the way, you're right. It does help. It does affect heavily high, densely populated, poor environmental conditions, like the city of Newark, like New York City. Also, you have to look at some other things that are predominantly white areas, like being on an airplane, a cruise ship, even the battleship and prisons. High density in terms of population and poor circulation in terms of quality of air. And the testing only proves what the scientists had said in the beginning. This thing is bad. And they don't want to prove that. They don't want to show that, because that makes the president, again, a liar. And that makes these conspiracy theorists a liar. That's why they keep pumping all these different conspiracies out, because they don't want you to know that they're wrong. They always want to be right. And this is in a situation where we have to fight to be right. In terms of theory, we have to fight to save lives.
And so when I'm asking the question in the beginning whether or not we're existing or whether we're surviving, see, existing is where you just sit back and you do nothing, right? And then things are happening to you. Surviving is when you're actively participating in trying not to leave this planet. Right, so
Amen.
So you're doing some things yourself. You're taking all of the information, you're ferreting out the truth, and you're discarding the lies. You're actively doing that and not allowing people to push their own agenda on you. See, that is existing. I'm asking you guys to survive, right? So even here on this show, we open it up for conversation, right? And then we bring facts, and we get phone calls where we're challenged, and then we present facts. All of the other stuff that you see is non-factual.
True.
Is that you, Vincent?
Nope, that's not me.
That
Diane.
Oh.
Not Diane.
Not Diane. Shut up, Vincent. Look, I'm trying to work and stay away from people at the same time and pick up papers. Don't be blasting at me. Be quiet.
Hey, Diane, are you in the office or are you home?
I'm neither. I'm not even saying, because this is recorded and my husband will start yelling.
Oh.
I had to step out for.
I hope you have your N95 mask on, Diane.
I do. I have my mask. Okay. That I do have.
Okay. All right.
Lord, this is just so difficult.
Yeah, that's why we should work hard on establishing our new norm. And we need to get ourselves in position that we are no longer forced to, survive this hard. And we need to get ourselves in position where we can stop listening to these people giving you this fake information and lulling you into existing so that you can die. You're just being it's like the Holocaust all over again. People were just herded in the death camps, but no one seems to understand that. And I cannot express how pissed off I am to see black people going out there telling other black people that this does not affect black people. When black people are now suffering from dying from this at an alarming rate, where there's 13% of the population, yet they are 67% of the fatality. This should not exist. When black people are going out there telling other black people that you don't need to wear a mask and that this is a hoax. When I know people who are black and dying from this. This is one thing that pissed me people to exploit and harm other black people. I get really pissed off with the people who sat up there all those years and saying, oh, they'll never elect a black president. And then when Obama got elected, oh, he ain't going to do nothing for us. Because they're not sitting up here saying that they were wrong about the election and him coming into office. What they're now doing is jockeying position to prove again that they are right. And I'm tired of people proving they are right and leading people to their death. This has got to stop in our community. We need to be together. We need to be united. We need to be focused on making sure that this does not happen to us again. I'm tired of us just existing. All these brilliant minds, beautiful people, wonderful dancers, singers, and actors. We put a strong contribution to America. Yet they minimize that and lead us to believing that black people are worthless and we do
Let me ask you
nothing.
a question. So in all of this, right? So you're having this conversation about black folks and how black folks are being affected by this. You had the draft, right? They're talking about, having football, having other sports. So where we have an opportunity, where black athletes maybe have an opportunity to be representative and say, look, we're going to be almost like Colin Kaepernick was when he took his knee. I'm just being creative here in my thinking about this. So Colin took a knee over these injustices. You have this virus that is killing at a disproportionate rate black folks, and you have a government trying to send us back out to work and die, right? So with these black athletes who will be playing in stadiums where, and maybe I don't know how many black people have tickets compared to white folks who have the tickets to go to these games. But what if they stepped up and said, you know what, we're not going to play. We're not going to be a part of this. We're not going to, we're going to social distance, because you can't social distance if you're getting in a huddle, right? You can't really effectively play the game if you've got an N95 mask on. And so if they said, look, these are not safe conditions for black folks. And so we don't want to show up on television, giving the wrong message that these are safe conditions for black folks.
Yeah, well, let's look at what happened. 1968, the Mexican Olympics, 2 African-American men, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, put on a black glove and raised their fists in protest to the black condition in America. We are celebrated as victorious when we show that we have now reached above the curve and the highest plateau in our field and chosen study, be it sports, science, athletics, etc. But yet, when we use that platform and that exposure that we have and appreciation of white America, and we say, if you can praise us in this, how come you don't praise us as people? The same thing that happened with Muhammad Ali, when he said, no, I'm not going to war, because nobody in Vietnam ever called me a nigger. The same thing that happened with Colin Kaepernick, when he said, I'm going to take a knee. I'm going to honor the flag, but I'm not going to stand for the injustice for black people being shot by white police officers. Once again, that negative spin and campaign. And Colin Kaepernick, the biggest active ingredient, the biggest activist against him was Donald Trump. When we take our stand as black people and say that if we can be accepted as this, how come we cannot be accepted as the other? That's when we run into the negative spin.
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to watch this. I mean, because I don't know. I think it goes further than just not opening barbershops and salons and things like that. I think it goes to all of this stuff, But again, the tug of war is very, very clear, guys. Make no mistake. Open the economy comes back. People, Donald Trump's campaign, talks about, very clear messaging, right? how he signed to give folks a relief during the pandemic, how he fought to open up the economy again and put people back to work, and then to tout whatever numbers he can tout. On the other side, I think the Democrats, and I just gotta say it, they're not 100% honest either, right? Because they would love to see the economy not open before November, because they would like to drag him through all of this and have these poor numbers, maybe have the unemployment go from 26 million to 35 million, and continue to climb so they can continue to bury him politically. But in the middle of all of that are the, citizens of these United States. So I don't believe that either side gives a damn about you.
Of course. But Eric, we have to come to realization that as Big Pharma and all these other corporations are paying the Republicans, they're paying the Democrats too. That's how they hedge their bets. Donald Trump, if he wanted and was concerned about the economic value of every individual, there would be no way in hell that they just issue out this one-time check for $1,200. And these politicians knew, as we discussed in your show a month ago, the Democrats knew, Chobakov knew, what's that other woman who ran for president? Warren, she knew, Booker, he knew, all of them knew about this. But they did nothing for the people in which they want votes from. And what we should do is unite against them. The reason they want this to go and the reason they want the mail system to fail is so that they can continue, they believe that they will continue to hold their seat in power, to continue to fuel the agenda of these big people who are giving them a lot of money. They don't want anybody new in there that's going to make a change. They want to keep their job. Yeah. And we are sitting up here being herded to slaughter daily.
Literally.
Yeah, Donald Trump isn't interested in the economy of the common man. He's interested in the economy because these people are telling them, I'm about to lose my yacht, Donald Trump. Get the economy back to work. Bullcrap.
Diane,
when are we going to wake up?
Diane, give me something light. Because I can't drink and it's Friday and all of this stuff is very, very depressing.
It is depressing. So my question to you is, because it's the beginning of Ramadan, are you celebrating Ramadan too? Did you have to do Ramadan and Easter and Lent and all that stuff on the Christianity side because your family, your parents were split?
Me?
Did you do both?
Oh, I did, but I can't celebrate now because like just before I got ready to do the show, as most mornings, I feel lightheaded. I feel like I'm about to pass out, and so I have to keep orange juice near me. So I can't.
Sounds like you didn't eat breakfast.
No, I didn't eat breakfast this morning. I gotta get on Amina. She didn't make my smoothie either. But
it was Huffle. Oh, okay. Let me text her and tell her it's Huffle. Okay.
But no, but I used to, used to celebrate all of it. I celebrated Ramadan, I celebrated Easter, I celebrated Christmas, all of it.
You're just a festive guy.
Well, because for me, I enjoy getting together with family, right? So I didn't celebrate Easter so Ramadan I celebrated it. Because we were Muslim. Easter I didn't celebrate because I was Christian. I celebrated it because my grandparents were Christian, right? And so we got an opportunity to get together and be family. So I wasn't gonna deny, an opportunity to be around family. You know what I mean? I don't think you do that. And I celebrated Christmas for the same reason. I got an opportunity to be around all my family, and my grandmother's birthday is on Christmas Day. So how could I not?
Nice.
Yeah, how could I not celebrate Christmas?
And how is your grandmother doing in all of this?
You know what? Listen, and a lot of people who watch this show, they know my grandmother. Grandmother Crawford is doing just fine. This woman is 97 years old. And she's doing fine. Now they're locked down because she's in in a senior complex, so we can't go see her. And my mom and I after the show would go up and I'd have brunch with her. So now I'm FaceTiming with her.
Oh, okay. Nice.
But she's doing
90,
she's
97 years old. She knows how to survive.
Yeah, she knows how. What? Listen, I tried to get her one day. One day, I'm going to get her to come on the show. Once this is all over. You're going to get some wisdom from a 97-year-old that's going to
She's going to drop some knowledge.
Drop those jewels.
It's going to blow your mind. But yeah, I've talked to her about coming on the show. There are a couple of people that I want to get on, older folks that I want to get on the show. Who can share, a lot of wisdom. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'm looking forward to seeing her. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to seeing my mother. I haven't seen my mom. I FaceTime her, but I out of safety for her and for me, right? I haven't seen her. But we do FaceTime.
Oh, you FaceTiming with your grandniece too?
Oh, Dallas? That is
Dallas.
She is my superhero.
What's she up to?
Listen, hey, she's keeping socially distant. Yeah.
I love her. She's so sweet.
No. Yep. But she's doing well. It hasn't the school stuff hasn't affected her because she's homeschooled now.
Right. So she's used to this. Yeah.
So she's used to being, so it's no big deal for her from that perspective. But I do think about all of the other kids who were not homeschooled, who are now at home, getting lessons and trying to work through this stuff. Diane, they're going to be so far behind. They're going to be
Some kids will be very far behind. I talked to my little cousin. He's in high school at, I believe, not St. Benedict's, not Montclair, I can't think, whatever the school is up there. But anyway, he's in private school, and they're literally just sending out recorded lessons. I was like, you can't learn like that. So they send in the assignment, tell them what the assignment is, no live teacher, none of that. Then on the flip side, my daughter's school, and she has 5 and 6-year-olds, kindergarten and first grade, they're doing live lessons. They're keeping to their same momentum that they were doing before. The kids are still getting their occupational therapy. They're doing their dance classes. They're doing their karate classes. So I think, and they had to go out and buy Chromebooks and stuff for all of their kids. So their kids didn't have, access to internets, all of them, or computers and stuff. But it's just amazing how some people were able to jump right in and make it happen, and other people are just making excuses like, we can't figure it out. Hillside is just starting to give out Chromebooks. Can you believe it? We're 4 weeks in.
So here's the last point I want to make, and I know we're at 2 minutes, right? But when they're talking about the new, and you talk about it all the time on the show, Vincent, the new norm. I listen to restaurateurs talking about reconfiguring their restaurants for social distancing, right? So they're moving tables further apart and they're doing other kinds of things. How does that work in a school? Because in order to, now, let's say you're going to do the 6 feet. So now you got to move the desks, but the classroom is whatever fixed size it is. But now once you move the desks, that means you can have fewer children in the class, which means you now have to have, if you have 3 8th grade classes, you may now have to have 4 or 5 8th grade classes because you have fewer in each class. And what does that do in terms of having to increase the number of teachers you have? So there's a whole lot that's getting ready to happen. But before you guys answer that question, we got a call. Call or go.
Real quick, Eric, I heard you say that your grandmother is 97 years old.
97,
I think that's a blessing. Yeah, that's a blessing. And it made me think, given that all of the history that she's seen, the current state of the Congressional Black Caucus, I am shocked to see them not call for any economic sanctions against China, both in the domestic environment and foreign. Obviously foreign, they're paying on their tariffs, but domestically, we should begin to see a shift from financial dependency and then financially extracting resources out of urban communities, and we begin to see more group economics.
Brother Che Coulter, man, you know I love you.
Supporting those businesses because
Che, you know I love you.
We have no government.
You know, there you go, Che. We have no, and that's why I call them the Congressional Black Caucus, right? Because they're the do-nothing people who say they stand for black, which is why Ayanna Pressley says no more black faces without black voices. See, and not only will they not call for sanctions there, I mean, they grandstand on some stuff, but they're never really doing anything substantive. And when we talk about how vulnerable the black community is and how susceptible the black community is to this virus because of these underlying conditions, the Congressional Black Caucus, they were aware of all of this too. They never pushed back and fought back and fought really hard to change policies to create better environmental conditions for black folks. They never really did that. They play it safe, Che. They play it safe. And then we continue to elect them simply because they're black, not because they've done anything significant or impactful.
Correct. And the reason we're not hearing anything from them is because they don't want to lose their dollars from these big corporations that have been fueling them.
Right. Because you know what, Shay? Because black folks don't contribute to their campaigns.
Ain't that the truth?
So
You're talking to them.
So think about this now. So you got these black folk who are elected, who we want to do stuff for us, but we don't contribute to their campaigns. So they are serving their masters.
That's right. That's deep.
Yeah.
Y'all have a blessed weekend. I'm going to look at the economic data, but it's a large economic statistical package. Y'all stay blessed.
Hey, you too, brother.
You too.
Hey, listen, Diane, if you want to answer the question before we're off, I know it's 12:02, but if you want to address
it's fine. Well, what I'm going to say is the Congressional Black Caucus, because I was looking it up while Shay was asking this question. They're doing telephone town hall meetings on various different subjects that they're asking people to call in. I don't know how effective it is, at least it's, I don't know, you got to be on it to see. You got to be there. What do you got to be in it to win it?
But you know what? But not only are they not doing anything, Mark Mariel from the Urban League, he's not doing anything. The NAACP, they're not doing anything. None of them are doing anything. None of them.
That's right.
None of them. They're not doing anything. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. And you know what? And then we're not doing anything either because we're not kicking them out.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Something light, Eric. My wife had brought some dog clippers so that I could, because our Pomeranians are looking like a bunch of blonde mops. So I cut their hair, nicely designed. Looks okay for, a first-time cut. So she said, "Oh, yeah, they look really great. Now I need you to use those clippers on your own head."
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that earlier today. You see, I'm never taking this hat off until I can get back to Farrakhan. I don't want you guys to see. I mean, it's either I wear the hat or I shave my hair bald. Because I tried to cut it.
Why don't you let him in and shape it up? You scared?
I am.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, tell us who, man. Shave it down.
No, I said I am. I'm not.
If she messes it up, you can keep your hat on.
You scared, brother.
Just going around the edges to at least line it up and make it look neat.
I'm going to buy a Flowbee.
Oh, gosh. Oh, Lordy.
I can get a Flowbee and see how that works out.
Oh, Lord. You might as well get a bowl cut.
I got to figure something out. Or maybe, so I'm letting my beard, I'm just going for it now. I'm like the man in the wilderness. I'm just, until I can get out there, this is going to be my COVID-19 look.
Eric?
Yep.
Are you existing or are you surviving?
Oh, listen, I'm surviving.
All right.
I'm surviving. You
Just
know,
give me the
I'm
clippers and
calling
let it
out.
go to work.
I am calling out all of the conspiracy theorists on a daily basis. I'm working to ferret out all of the factual information that I can. We're using that, and then look, but I gotta tell you this. Even, and you know, you need in your space people who have your best interest, right? Even when you are thinking about doing something that might not be the smartest thing to do or the most prudent thing to do, you need people around you who are gonna, you know, kind of nudge you back over. Which is why I said, Diane, you have your mask on. So that's part of surviving too, right? It's saying, you know what, I'm gonna surround myself with like-minded people who are trying to survive, and I'm gonna kick to the curb those people who don't want to. Because what I tell you, my father told me, those who you don't let die won't let you live.
Let you live.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Be safe and stay a safe distance away and away from me.
Have a good weekend, everybody. God bless you all.
Take care, guys.
As well. Take care.